So I'm a big Mariah Carey fan. And so I kept one of the covers of Vibe magazine that she was on, and I framed it. And I used to have a whole bunch of Vibe magazine's covers in my man cave, but I moved back out west from the East Coast, so I have a smaller space. So I just have a couple here. I have a bunch that's in storage. And so that's it. I'm just a big Mariah fan. So I show my love for her by putting the Vibe cover up, and that's what it is.
Well, maybe we can show our love for her by replacing that cracked screen. Cracked glass on the front.
Yeah. This happened pretty recently, and I just haven't got
to send Amani a new frame. If you were to give entrepreneurs some advice, or founders some advice, or just anybody in business some advice of like, how do you cultivate creativity? How do you cultivate it within yourself? How do you make time for it for yourself? And then how do you cultivate it within teams and really truly make creativity a part of a business culture? What's your recommendation on that, Stuart?
That's a fantastic question. And I think if it's one thing that I've learned, and I wasn't always that good at it, I'm fairly new to meditation and meditation practice, but I finally learned that it's the thought process is a lot easier when we're able to quiet our mind and really zero in and focus and to quiet the noise in our heads to where we can really direct our thoughts to where we want them to go. So, one thing is meditation. The other is walking. I walk, now that I'm in Florida, it was like 78 degrees this morning. I walk 3 miles every single morning. And that is work time for me. Because in addition to the mindfulness of going to the water and checking out and seeing what the crazy wildlife is doing, whether there's a shark swimming around or, an egret that's trying to swallow a fish that's a lot bigger than their neck. Which I experienced the other day. But it's the notion of really clearing your head and thinking through those things. Now, if you're not able to get out and walk as much, journals.
Kind of what we got down to is that purpose, equals, what you value and the effort you're willing to put into it. And so if you are working with somebody and you see that they value a part of your business and they value an overall goal that your team has, and they're willing to put the effort in, they are purpose driven. And those are the people you want to hold on to. And if you're struggling with connecting somebody to your business, you got to find out what they value about your organization and when they're willing to put the effort in.
Purpose is important though, because that's like, we're all talking about trying to find the best staff right now, and it feels like everyone's bewildered. Like, I don't know what to do. It's like, show what you value, right? Show your culture. Show you are a culture keeper. That's going to resonate with somebody. That's going to connect to their purpose. And now you have a brand new person that you're recruiting to the hospitality industry that may have come from a completely outside industry, but just because you're getting vulnerable and sharing a little bit about your culture, your purpose, you're connecting with somebody on a deeper level, and you're building the industry as well.
Eventually, something's going to happen, I think, for most of us. I can't say for everybody, but I can say for most of us, something happens where you just find enough confidence to appreciate yourself. And when you can find enough confidence to like yourself, that's when the flower comes out, right? Like, that's when you blossom, is when you truly start to like yourself. Then you're free to let the flower grow.
Not so much what you are going to do, but all the things that you aren't going to do. And trying to not do everything, but just being really specific and really intentional. And honestly, working in the health space, which is just such a big space, and there's so many questions. And really, I think my initial goal was to help people live happier and healthier lives, which is very vague. And so it took me a very long time to chisel in with, well, now I just help people eat more plants. And that's a little bit more clear. It's a little bit more specific. And I think today, almost 10 years later, I am as successful as I ever have been as an entrepreneur in this moment. And I think it's because I'm very clear on what we do today.
Secret number one is, and this is true for all businesses, treat people like people, not as tools and assets, right? So empathy first, right? You were in that role at one point, especially in hotels, even in restaurants. We all started as busboy or lowest on the totem pole somewhere, right? Hotels, same thing, and we've all been there and been through that. So don't forget that and have empathy for your team.
you obviously are exposed to a lot of different students right now, and so I'm gonna ask you the same thing I'm gonna start asking them, right? Which is, what are they looking for as they start to graduate? Do you all have any of those conversations, especially I imagine as you're going through some of the case studies?
Oh yeah. I think what they're looking for is a company that they can build like trust with. They can trust like their boss, their supervisor. Looking for a company that's going to be balanced. That's one of the challenges we have, is that they tend to stay away from hotels type jobs because they just hear the horror stories from the past about the hours and everything's included. They also really want to learn about like navigating the political arena within companies. Like, how do I get to know like the CEO, or how do I understand who I should be talking to, and they really don't understand, like, within any business, any company, there are politics involved, and who you talk to. So they're really curious about how that works. I think it's 75 to 80% of my students are first generation college students. So they're also kind of wondering, how do I go do my own thing where my parents want me to work at the family store or the family business? And how do I kind of make my own path? That's a question that comes up many times. They want to do something like work in entertainment, work in hospitality, but parents want them to either be a lawyer, a doctor, or an accountant. And so I get a lot of the accountants in my class, because like one of the classes, the strategic business seminar, that's a case study class, is based on like every student has to take it to graduate. And so I get a lot of accounts that they take my class because they know I have a different background. So they ask a lot of questions. They want to see what's going on. The number one thing they say is, well, my parents want me to work for, I think it's a top four accounting firm, but I don't want to do that. But I have to kind of please my parents. What do I do? That's probably the biggest question that we have the most in-depth discussion on, and it comes up every semester.